I left university and I worked in advertising for a couple of years, and then I started a web business just as the web started, so 1997. And I had that for about 20 years, just under, and I sold it to a PR company over the course of a 5-year era now. Left that, I got a project working in Nepal, running a cashmere business, and working in Mongolia, slightly randomly running a camp. So I did that for 9 months, and then I got investment and set up Outdoor Food in the end of 2016. I've always been a bit of a hiker. I like hiking as a hobby, and I like cooking. And I went to Greenland about 6 years ago, so while I still have my previous company, went on a hike with a friend. So we hiked for 10-12 days. And it meant carrying all your own food. So you're going to southwest Greenland, you're hiking, there's no people, there's no shops, so you have to carry everything. And you can't physically carry enough wet food, so normal food, to last that kind of time. So I borrowed a dehydrator from my wife, and I made our own meals. So it took me about 6 months to make 4 meals, 4 recipes. And that's what started it. It was a hobby, which grew. So we started, it was just me. I got some investment from a couple of people I've been hiking with, and I took a bit of a gamble, bought some equipment. It's the kind of business you can't make 10 meals in your kitchen and be viable. You have to get to about 100 meals a day, and still then you're not breaking even, which involves quite a large investment. So I got investment in my first couple of months. I rented a kitchen, built a kitchen, got the equipment working, and within about 8 months we'd grown out of it, which was a bit gutting. But by then Dorman were involved actually. So we moved after our first year, moved into the ground floor of a big mill house in Firepot, and after our first 6 months there we grew out on our ground floor. So we're now across 3 floors. And our food has always been, so we make food, we dehydrate food. It's the same meals I started off in Greenland plus a few new recipes. The plan had always been to make food, get some samples out there, get the general public to try it and review it, and then approach shops and get it stocked. What actually happened was the people grabbed it so much that we sold out. We've been sold out for 2.5 years effectively. So whenever we try and get to the stage where we're going to go into shops, we sell out again. It's quite a seasonal business. So we've now finally got to the stage where we've got the space, the equipment and the people to actually make more food than we need. Which means we can start to distribute in different countries, we can start to go into main shops in the UK. So that's been our journey. It's been growing in fits and starts, but it's been growing quite rapidly, much more than I thought, much faster. Yes, so my previous business I started with a friend, so 2 of us, which makes a massive difference. We then had a third party, so there were 3 of us, and then my friend left, so it's always had a business partner. There's certain things you're good at, and you are, and there's certain things you're bad at, and you find when you're running a business and it's just you, you're quite exposed, because I'm bad at accounting side, I'm bad at invoicing, I'm bad at chasing money, I'm quite good at being optimistic, and quite bad at being realistic. So what I needed really, rather than bring in a business partner and lose half the business, it was crucial, I think, to get someone in who could advise, or just someone to have a sort of bounce off ideas, and you get that moment when you look into their eyes and you can see that you pushed it a bit too much, and you're thinking moving in 6 months, why don't you stay a while? First started I got quite a few sales from Europe in our first couple of weeks. So I actually, the first body I contacted was the Department of International Trade, the DIT. And I signed up for their scheme. It's I think a 2-year scheme to try and refine things for export. And one of the first things my guide from that group said was, "Are you signed up with Dorman?" So that's the next thing I googled and signed up. Right. Yes, it's tricky. I mean, I think in the early weeks when you're first starting, you're looking for any kind of support, and you're not quite sure what's going to turn up and how it's going to work. Hence signing up to the DIT. I think what I was most looking forward to, if I could get it from Dorman, was because my previous business, I had a business partner, so I started with a friend. We then had a third partner, so the 3 of us. And that's great because you can play to your strengths. You tend to partner up with people who are good at things that you aren't good at, and you also just get the chance to talk things through. You don't just plough in and do stuff. You have to run it past your colleagues. So I was really looking for someone to help with that. I mean, I've got a family, I've got friends, but it's quite key, I think, to find someone who's independent. You're not going to have an argument with, and they can come and look at things from a different angle and talk through them. So I spoke to someone in the office. I filled in a form online, I think. Spoke to someone, and they said they'd come back to me, and then I got contacted directly by Richard, who's my doorman now. So he arranged to come and see me. We had a coffee, met in town, really informal, and he turned up and he's immediately enthusiastic. I mean, he's not from my world, so he's not from the outdoor industry or the food industry, but I'm not necessarily thinking I was looking for that. What he is someone I respect, get on with, and work well with. And that just came. As I started out, I wasn't absolutely sure, because when you start a business, you're obviously looking for as much help as you can possibly get, and it really can come from different angles from people. So what I was looking for, ideally, in my previous business, I had a business partner, and we therefore got to talk about things before we did them. I was looking for someone I could really talk through things with. That was my main aim. We now have monthly sessions, so at the end of each session we book a slot for the next one. We vary them a bit, so Richard comes here fairly regularly, but also it's quite good idea to get away from here. So if you're having a 2-hour session and it's manic here, it's quite distracting. So we tend to kind of alternate. What we really try and do is he starts by saying, "How's it going?" And that's a great chance to sort of unload. And it makes you realise really that since we last met, you've done a lot, because quite often you think that things are going too slowly, we haven't got the equipment yet, we're trying to find people, we haven't got the finances. But actually, if you're regularly meeting someone, when you meet them, you think, actually, since I last met, we've done A, B, C, we haven't done X, Y, Z, but we've done a lot. So we then talk through that, how's it gone? And then really, it's picking up on what's next. And you can normally, within a session, within an hour, you veered off onto a tack you didn't necessarily plan. Suddenly we're in finance, and that has made it very clear from what you've done so far that actually the next real thing shouldn't be carry on those things. It should be take a step back and work out, can you afford the next stage? Do you need to get more funding? Do you need more marketing, sales? So it becomes really, first half is an update, catch up, and a kind of approve what's gone on. Second half is what's next, and try and make a bit of a plan. Not a structured plan, but just a bit of a plan, and then both of us tend to take it away. Sometimes we stay in touch in between during that month with updates and progress. And then when you meet again, you both got notes there. You both know that the plan had been to focus on finance this month. Did that happen? In hindsight, if I hadn't had a doorman, I don't think I would have made the decisions I've made. And I'm looking back on those 2 years now, and I'm happy with all of them, as happy as I can be. I think I would have gone down a few dead-end alleys. And I think more importantly, actually, because it's not just how the business is achieving its sales, its marketing, it's how you're coping, me coping. And I think I wouldn't be coping as well as I am now. It's more about, waking up before the morning worrying, that kind of thing is the most important thing, rather than, did you increase 10% in sales in June? So I think for me personally, that's the real focus, is to try and get a kind of a sense of clarity and confidence in what you're doing.
With that?
Yes, I mean it's been, because I didn't run a food business before. It's brand new for me. It's been challenges from the start, and they are pretty constant challenges. So some are permanent ones, like funding and sales and that kind of thing. Some are constantly changing, so packaging, graphic design, marketing, PR, sign-off, technical, legal, trademarks. So it's really a case where you wake up each day and you could do any of those things. There's probably 200 things you could do, and I tend to veer towards the ones I'm better at, the ones I feel comfortable at, and the ones I think I can do in a day, which is not necessarily always the right thing. So that is definitely a factor in our meetings at Dorman. When you turn up, you go, how's it going? You go, yeah, I've built 3 more dehydrators, and that's great, and I enjoy building them, and then working, we've got more capacity now, and Rich would then turn around and go, yeah, how are sales? And you go, well, sales haven't really done so well this month. So you're building up capacity and you're not building up sales. Wouldn't it be better to focus on this? So you're trying to constantly reprioritise things while still maintaining a momentum in all of them. Just say that this week I'm going to be mainly doing that. That's an easy one. I just say do it. I think you need all the help you can get, and this is a great form of help. I haven't had much experience. I mean, I've experience of various, but not much experience of one-to-one mentoring. So I've got involved in companies that have helped consultants, that kind of thing, in my past. And what I found there was you're turning up, asking a bunch of questions you hope you know the answers to, and what you get back is the answers you were hoping for, and you pay for it. What I find more beneficial with Dorman is one-to-one, it's consistent, so you're always meeting with the same person. It's personal, it's local, so a lot of the challenges I face here are local challenges. There's local funding, finding people, premises in particular, and they are probably the same kind of challenges that the person next door who's making cakes or steelworks are facing. So you quite often get from your mentor not just advice that he or she has found with similar mentorees, but also the Dorman system is other Dorman talk to other Dorman. So I've had a few meetings now where Rich has gone, actually, I should speak to X, Y, Z about that. Brian, he's got some clients in the food business, he can find out. So you're plugging in a very subtle way, but you are plugging into a very big network of local businesses. Yeah, so I suppose when you're starting out, particularly just starting a business, you're very aware of your gaps. Things sales weren't good last week. I don't feel like I've done this well enough, and I think there can be a concern there where you don't want to really expose that to other people who could criticise you. You don't want to feel like they are going to pick holes in what you're doing. I think it's critical to reassure people that a Dorset mentoring relationship isn't about that. It's not about someone more senior or more experienced than you turning up and saying, well, that's not good enough, that's not good enough. Everyone in that system knows that running a business is difficult, starting a new thing is difficult. So it's not about picking holes in things, it's really about trying to steer and focus you so you end up with as good a structured business as possible. I think I've probably got to the end of my grant sessions. I think I've got that's done me really well. I've raised 3 rounds of funding now, which again has been great. That's a lot of work, and that's a lot of what we've talked about with Dorman. I think next is the early days with Richard. The concern for the first year was sales. We're not selling enough, we're not selling enough, we're not selling enough. Now we're not making enough, and that's a lovely change to have. So now we've got 6 people here now. We've got the capacity to make 250,000 meals a year in this building. We're not selling anywhere near that now. So what we have to be doing now is growing sales and moving internationally. We've got a distributor in Norway, interested in Germany, Benelux, Spain. So I think that's our next stage, which brings its own set of headaches to talk through, which is translation, it's adaptation, it's different recipes, it's export, it's import, it's tax, it's trademarks. So that's next, I think, is growing, finding some new markets and taking advantage of them. Yes, so I think as we are now veering into new markets, I think that's probably an area where, obviously I'll talk you through with Richard, as I always do, but I know that there's more than 100 doormen now, so there are opportunities there to put in other doormen who might be more specialised in those fields and those sectors.